Welcome to the Activations with JJ Energy Update for the week of October 4th, 2021. I'm so excited to have you here with me this week and at this moment for this energy update. Of course, if you're listening to it at a later date, no worries. You were drawn to this episode for a reason and you need this particular energy. So just kind of sit back, relax, and welcome whatever activation comes through. If you are new to the podcast, my name is JJ, and I am a starseed linguist, a multidimensional channel, and a way shower, among other things. I always feel like there's like this list, including activation guide. Everything I do has some kind of activation related to it. And I'm excited that you were drawn to this particular podcast or this YouTube channel. I know it wasn't by chance, so you're resonating at a vibration similar to mine, and that's why we've come together to co-create today. As I always say in every episode, I feel you here. Like, even though you're not here in real time, there's no such thing as time. Time is an illusion. I'm really excited because this week I am in my second episode of season 7, as I told you last week. This is a new episode, a new season, and there's a new season for a reason. And I know I'm rhyming, not trying to do poetry, but there's a new season here for a purpose, and it's definitely going to be different. So you're going to have to buckle up because I feel a lot of strong codes coming through lately, not only through this podcast as I sit down to record, but also through different people who I have booked individual sessions with. Whenever I book an individual session with somebody, or they book an individual session with me, I should say, when they're drawn to do that, usually what I end up doing is we are doing some kind of activation for them. By the way, as a side note, if you're interested, feel free to check out my website. You can look and see what I do there. You can also book the sessions there. I'd love to work with you if that resonates with you. But back to what I was saying, whenever I bring through their starseed family, I almost feel like I'm going to use that energy and that connection that I've made with that particular star group or that race, because it's going to eventually come through on the podcast and it's for the collective. So not only is it for that particular individual, for that person, but it's also for you. And this week is no exception. Not every week do I bring through what I've brought through in individual sessions, but this week I know I am, because it was so hard for me to bring through this starseed race. One I have never brought through before, one that is from a very distant universe. And I honestly had to work really hard to calibrate myself to channel their energy. So I'm not going to waste the fact that I've made this connection very recently. It's still pretty fresh in my mind, and I feel like I do want to bring through their wisdom. So basically, like I said, I brought through this particular star race. At the beginning, I felt like they were Arcturian because they felt very cerebral, very scientific, very technologically advanced as a culture, but they were also very loving and very, very much a higher consciousness, a higher density, very connected to source. And I love it when I can bring through those kinds of energies and those kinds of beings. So when I started bringing them through, I said in my head, oh, it's Arcturian. And they were like, no, we're not Arcturian. We are a much older race than the Arcturians, but we are similar in that we are very technologically advanced, but we are much more advanced than the Arcturians. We are in a galaxy that's very far away from yours, and we are numbering in the billions as far as our population goes, which I thought was fascinating. They even said that their population was numbered so high because they had figured out how to not have to go through the cycles of creation and destruction so much. So they were able to proliferate their particular universe. They were living in peace and harmony, and this allowed them to, like I said, not have to go through the cycles and the different eras where we have here, obviously on our planet, and other planets have done the same, where there becomes a rise in culture, and then there's a downfall because they end up shifting from heart-centered. This is what I talked about last week, shifting from heart-centered to more egocentric. And they, I guess what you can kind of call it, they sort of have figured things out after many, many repetitions and many iterations. They alluded to the fact that they'd been at this for a while and they've figured these cycles out, and they figured out how to kind of maintain a sense of peace. And I was pretty blown away by just everything that they kind of conveyed to us as we were going through this session and connecting with them. Just learning new things all the time. That's really what I feel like I'm doing. And what's opened the door is just my sort of being able to calibrate my energy to a variety of different races, and them knowing how to connect with me, because I think I've felt from them as well that it's hard, it's a struggle to translate their density and their language into ours. So even as I was doing the activation, I was bringing through a lot of light language that was very fast, and it was kind of overwhelming for me personally, just physically overwhelming. I had to do a lot to keep up with it. So it's always just, like I said, it's an adventure kind of, and I was able to kind of take about 24 hours to really calibrate their energy and bring through a second message for the person I worked with. And that being said, it's pretty fresh on my mind to bring through their energy, and I'm just curious to know what they have to say, and I'm sure they have some different sort of advice for us as they're highly technologically advanced. They did say that they aren't very familiar with the Earth as a planet because they're so far away. They do have specific duties in the greater omniverse, not necessarily our universe, but in the multiverse. They're known for certain things that they're able to do. They are working with our planet now because they've been called in to do some certain coding and activation and gridding, allowing the planet to shift into the new Earth and to shift into this different age. As we head into their message and their activation for us today, just a reminder to take some deep breaths, and I will tell you their energy is very unique and quite powerful. So just kind of go the extra mile here to relax and surrender and release any tension physically that you might be holding. Soften the body, using the tones of this music to allow yourself to completely come into a state of receiving. Those who are listening to our coding have been called from the collective to be beacons of light and to upgrade as way showers to introduce the program to the planet Earth. This gridding, which we are activating, is part of the progress of the planet into a higher density and must be held inside of the human form of several of you. Again, those who are listening to this have consented to be carriers of the program and of these particular codes. We will mostly convey them through light language, but at the end we will follow up with a few words for you to help you understand better in the conscious exactly what is occurring and exactly what we are doing, and also to help you understand that our intentions are of a good source and are very connected to a place of goodwill and benevolence. We will now invite JJ to assist you in integrating these codes through her light language and toning. Ho lau au au We invite you to breathe deeply, to shift and move your body as you feel needed in order to integrate fully these codes, which are somewhat unique and are just barely being introduced to your planet. We come as a highly advanced race, having explored all the possible technology in a way that has been a very interesting journey for us. But through our discoveries, we hope to benefit many, many planets, many universes, and many galaxies, helping them to understand evolution in a more scientific way in order to streamline the process, in order to create some more comfort for those undergoing the process, including the planets themselves, the stars themselves, as they shift and as they begin to take a crystalline form. We again invite you to continue to integrate these codes, possibly re-listen when you feel ready to do so, for they are extremely powerful and a very unique density in comparison with the density of the planet and the vibration of the planet Earth. We thank you for your time and for your reception of this message, and we now bid you farewell. Just take a moment here to disconnect from the energy, disconnect from the message for the time being, allowing yourself to bring your awareness back to your body, and also setting the intention that you will be able to access and integrate the codes when you need to do that. Whether it be immediately following the end of this podcast or at a different time, possibly when you sleep. Oftentimes that is a time that's easier for your body to integrate. But whatever your intention is, you can manifest the results that you need and the results that you desire. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me, and I definitely have some different feelings about this energy. It's oftentimes feeling pretty heavy on me. I don't take that as a negative thing. It's just different for me. I tend to get sort of just a weighted feeling sometimes when I'm connecting to them because it is so different than our planet's vibration. But it's, again, an adventure. Like I said at the beginning, I always consider it to be an adventure and fun. And it really helps me to know and understand so much more about our place in the universe, about how many different races are supporting us as we shift. There are truly so many that have our best interest at heart. And if we desire to communicate with them, it's possible to do so. Many of you have starseed families wanting to reach out to you. And if you're interested, I would be happy to do a session with you to help you feel their vibration a little bit better, to help you connect and calibrate to their vibration. And then what I've noticed is as people do that, then they can go out on their own and really start to receive messages from those planets that they come from, or the stars that they come from, or that a part of their soul comes from, just the ones that feel like family. It really helps you not to feel so alone, because sometimes we do feel alone here on this planet. But there's lots of us, and they're all gathering, and one of the ways they're gathering is through this podcast. Again, I really appreciate you coming to co-create with me. And as always, the divinity within me honors the divinity within you. Namaste.